Right, it is Sunday, 27th of April. 26th of April had fight of the year, I think, is pretty much done. Round of the year might be done. I don't know about performances of the year, but we got a lot to talk about, but we're going to talk about the main event first because that's what people are here for. And that's, we need to get
maybe
that out of the
card
system.
of the year as well.
Could be card of the year. There was no bad fights on there.
No.
Not the strongest undercard, but all the fights were good to watch. So look, let's just go straight into the main event, though. Let's go straight into the main event. First of all, Senior rocking up at the car.
This is WWF. I feel like, you know, when they turn up, Raw Monday night show, and they just open the car door and give you a background and someone's there. Oh my God, Jeff. And they say to which wrestler, Stone Cold turns up. It's like Stone Cold turning up in the car park. That's
so cool. And he's wearing his little sheriff's badge with the big fur.
He's got a whole lion on his chest, by the way. He's got one lion on his chest.
He's mental, but he's so cool in a weird way.
Do you know what made me laugh about him? Is the dancing. It was cracking me up. Just him in front of cameras was killing me, by the way. I couldn't stop laughing.
No, but him and Nigel in the ring walks to watch their son. And I think, before we talk about the scorecards, I'm not too fussed by, if I'm honest. I don't agree with them. I think it was closer than 4 rounds. But before we talk about that side of it, the fact that the two sons have gone in there and put together, it could potentially be the best fight of the 3. Eubank-Benn won. It could be the best fight of the 3. That genuinely could be.
100%. And I'm even going to say, because of what it gave the fans, for a second, let me just throw this in, Connor. What it gave the boxing fans, every single person I know who don't even watch boxing like that was messaging me and going, this fight was unreal. Yeah. So every single boxing fan that I knew was watching this. Everyone locked in. I think for the wider audience, it was something that it caught probably the hearts of casual fans. I would even say people that don't watch boxing probably tuned in. This is when I say to you, the effect that boxing has on, because we always talk about it, but we don't have a lot of. I say we don't have a lot of great references, but this year we haven't had a lot of good references for me to be able to bring this statement out. So I'm going to say it bold, loud, and clear. Yeah, you ready? So for me, this kind of fight would pull in your nan to watch it.
Yep.
And I don't think there's any other combat sport in the world that does that other than boxing.
Yeah.
I'm saying it with chest.
There's something about 2 people fighting like that, like the way they did. And the fact you've got the 35 years, the generational aspect where, you know, like my parents and then their parents have all watched Nigel Benn Eubank first time round.
This is the biggest fight for that reason, and you just highlighted something, because this is a cross-generational fight. What they've done with the promotion is mental, because this has, even people that say, the new generation of boxing, I don't watch it because it's not the same as the old. They've locked in.
Yep.
Because it's Eubank and Benn.
This fight had everything. Promotion, take the actual 12 rounds away, which is crazy, but we'll talk about that in a second. But look at the promotion of, you've got the generational aspect. You've got Chris Eubank Jr., who everyone knows is an elite boxer. He is world class, but he's never won a world title, and we don't know where he can go.
We're not counting the IBO. We are not counting.
No. It's a fringe title, but he's and who up and 3 years ago, everyone thought this guy is Britain's next superstar. Then you had the drug stuff, adverse findings, all the rest of it, and suddenly he's the most hated man in the country. Mm-hmm. You then fast forward through 2 years of just like volatile bullshit.
Probably hell for him
with the eggs and the going from hero to zero, but not even zero, because he got booed tonight.
Both of the fighters got booed, which is mental. By the way.
2 years ago, Eubank was the bad guy, and Conor Benn was loved. He was absolutely loved, and then everything went wrong. But all that's done is just build it up. And I think actually I'm quite happy it's happened the way it has. Obviously, it's easier to say that now that we've seen the fight. But can you imagine Eubank trying to rehydrate from 157? That's, I think, dangerous.
Yeah.
Those initial terms are dangerous. I don't want to hear it this time round about Eubank, personally. I don't agree with rehydration clauses, but I don't agree with a fighter going up 2 weight classes. Conor Benn was tiny in that ring.
You say that though, but can I just make a quick point? We're saying that now, but we are going to see this happen again soon. Not with Eubank and Ben, but with
I do. Oh yeah, 100%. It's going to happen.
But my point being is this what do we want to see? Because do you know what it is? Yeah, if the only thing I can say is now hindsight looking at the Ben and Eubank fight, it was a fight that entertained everyone. Therefore, I don't think many people are going to complain about it, even though from our point of view, I agree with what you're saying about the 2 weights going up. As I said before, this doesn't damage Ben's career in any sense because he would still have a world title shot at 147.
His stock is through the roof right now.
Yeah. And
He's
I
handled
actually
defeat
think
well as
a
well.
lot of fighters are going to look at that and go, that's a tough fight.
Right. Let's bring that comment up. It wasn't 116, 112 to Ben.
Bring that comment up. Let's get it up.
Right. First of all,
Abdul Rahim,
you'll never walk alone. Go on, Abdul. Anyway, wrong side camera. It wasn't 1-6, more like a draw or 1. Yeah, I agree. I think Conor Benn was, for me, he was up in the coming out of the 10th round, but 11th and 12th. 12th was Eubank's, 11th could go either way. I think it was only fair for a draw or Eubank win by a round.
Yeah.
I think personally, the zone commentary, certain people were very biased. Very biased. Like, just mental, as in, you don't like Conor Benn, fine, but what you're watching is happening, so be fair. Don't give Eubank 10 rounds or whatever, because what are you watching? Like, that's not the same fight. We'll talk about the Canelo fight now, then, I guess. So, what next for Eubank? Is it Canelo or is it the rematch? Because I want to put this out there. I do not want to see the rematch.
No,
I don't think it's safe. I think we've seen it once and it went perfect. It was a brilliant. The balance was brilliant. But you take an older Eubank, the toll that fight has had on the both of them is insane. Eubank had been rushed to hospital last night because of his face. He's broken every bone in that face. His head looked like a football. It actually looked like a football. Conor Benn didn't look good either, but Conor Benn's head looks like it's made of granite, so it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Eubank shouldn't get the Canelo fight. I mean, I agree. I don't think. To be honest, I don't even think that was ever going to happen.
What's Canelo got a 5-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh?
Yeah, but Canelo's going to fight William Skull, which, by the way, I've been looking at Skull. There's potential for an upset there, genuinely. But he's got William Skull, and then he's going to fight Crawford.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a rematch clause there. So Canelo's not free till summer next year anyway, really.
Obviously, before we talk about that, let's just rewind it and go back to now the 12 rounds of Eubank and Ben.
Yeah.
Fuck Canelo for a minute. Yeah. This one's about Eubank and Ben. That's what people want to see. People want to see us. Nobody cares about what Eubank's going to do next. Right now, I think we will talk about that in a minute because it is relatable. But I do think we've got to cover the 12 rounds. And yes, I swore. Yes, that might affect monetization. But for this episode, we move.
Who gives a shit? It's fine. How impressed were you with Conor Benn? The fact he could hurt him.
Conor Benn, let me tell you something about him, yeah? Conor Benn, I'm not surprised that he done that. Let's be honest. Everyone was saying when we went into the fight, 4 to 6 rounds, Ben was going to come out. What I was more impressed by was Eubank was weathering storms, which he done, but very difficult because a couple of times he stumbled. He brought something out in Eubank that I don't think Eubank's had for years, and he's really had to dig deep. I knew Conor Benn had the ability to do that. I think everyone did, because if you look at the way that Conor Benn fights, I know my friend was saying that arguably it was something that maybe Conor Benn could have boxed more smart, because I think at times he was quite erratic, and I think he was showing his emotion when he was fighting.
Yeah, definitely.
But take nothing away from him. We know Conor Benn's got a chin, first of all. We know Conor Benn's got a chin. How much that will be damaged, because let's look at it from two angles.
Yeah.
That fight, he can't be in too many of those fights, because they're the fights, like Eddie Hearn said last night when they were doing the post-press conference, they take years off your boxing career. You don't want to be in fights like that. Nobody boxes to get hit. I don't care what anyone says. You're not in a fight to take that much damage. The aim of the game is to hit and don't get hit. So you got to look at it from that aspect. But what Ben done yesterday, which really impressed me, was when Eubank turned up the ante, Ben was then turning up the ante and he was firing back, which is what made it so competitive.
Yeah. Conor Benn should keep his head up and give some respect to his name. Yeah, 100%. But I think everyone in the country has more respect for him now. I've seen the amount of comments that go along the lines of, I don't like either guys, but I have so much respect for them now. I've never seen it like that. He's gone from being so hate. People will support him now. He's back in the good books. Ben was headhunting. I think the most disappointing thing with Conor Benn, but it's completely understandable, is the first round. Because you know that Eubank won't start that quick. He likes to measure out his opponent. Always does it.
Yeah.
So I think Conor Benn really could have, maybe it's not even possible when Conor Benn's never fought in front of 70,000 people. And neither of them have fought in a fight like that. So it's completely understandable. But that first round, I felt he wanted to go and land something. And I think it was so good for him in round 2 to land something big on Eubank's chin and see Eubank wobble.
100%.
Because then he knew, do you know what? This is a fight that I can win. Because there must have been something in his mind going, there is a chance I'm not going to be able to hurt this guy.
Yeah.
And he looked, it was a giant. Eubank was a giant in there. But my God, it was a fight. I can't even. I'm watching. I'm going to watch it again today. I might watch it again on Monday, and I might watch it again on Tuesday, because that is the best fight. You had all the emotion, the ring walks, everything. Yeah. When was the last time that you got? When was the last time we were excited for a fight from the promotion and it actually lived up to it?
I agree.
I can't even think of when.
No, I agree.
Like Bivol Beterbiev, definitely, but not to. It's a different kind of thing. Bivol Beterbiev was technical and it was brilliant, and I loved watching that because of just watching the footwork. You could literally just watch their feet for 12 rounds and you'd be entertained. But it's not the same thing. The last just guns blazing fight we've had, especially in the UK, is probably Clark Wardley. But I was not as excited for Clark Wardley as I was for Conor Benn Eubank.
It's a different build-up, though.
Exactly.
I don't know, but in the sense of, that's the first time that I'm ever going to say you would expect Clark and Wardley to be, but there's not enough in it. You're talking about Clark and Wardley, who are at a certain level in the heavyweights, but there's a lot of fights to be made like that. There isn't. I don't know how to explain it yet, but Clark and Wardley just ain't the same as Conor Benn and Eubank. Like in this country, it's not. It will never be. Yeah. There will not be a fight other than maybe, and even then, the only other fight big in the UK that is gonna emulate that or be bigger than that is gonna be Fury and Joshua if it happens.
It's the only one, because the build up that can potentially rival. I don't even know if it can rival Ben. It's similar, right? But we would then have to see Joshua and Fury go to war for 12 rounds.
Yeah.
We're not going to... And then not just that, but in the 12th round where things are getting sluggish, you're going to have to see Joshua's head getting pinged back about 8 times. And then you must have been like me and everyone in the world watching. I thought Conor Benn was done. In round 12, I thought, okay,
100%.
Conor Benn's knocked out now.
100%. But then he was thrown back and
then
Eubank.
He clipped him. And Eubank's legs dropped a little.
What you've got to respect about both of them in there is in the 12th round, they were both exhausted, by the way. Exhausted. Yeah. You could see it. Yeah. The ropes were holding both of them up at times. Eubank was leaning on Ben as much as Ben was leaning on the ropes. Yeah. But you're going to do that. It's a 12-round fight. It's a very difficult thing. One of the things my friend was saying that I was watching with who's done countless amounts of sparring was fighting for 3 or 4 rounds at that intensity is difficult. Doing it for 12 rounds, and the only other fight I'd say where you saw that an example of that on the card and on the undercard was like the Lyndon Arthur and Yard, where later on in the fight they were the tanks, like there was so much respect afterwards you couldn't not respect because, and it was the same with Eubank and Ben. 12th round, Eubanks clipped him, and Ben's come back, hit Eubank with a shot, but Ben's taken a lot of damage on the ropes. Eubank got clipped, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what held him up. Jesus God, but he was hurt. You could see, but then so was Ben.
There was a will from both of them.
Ben was going to get knocked out. I'll be honest with you, but it's one of them fights. You don't want to be in too many of them fights.
No, and that's why I do want to make it clear. Like, don't get me wrong, that is probably one of my favorite fights I've ever watched live.
Yeah,
if not my favorite. I mean, it may be recency bias, but it genuinely could be it's probably the best fight I've ever seen live. Just watching at home.
Be honest with you, I watched it out, and I was probably a lot of casual fans there. Where I was, and just people that were out for the event and the venue, and that's what boxing does. I don't think there's any, and I go back to it, I don't think there's any other combat sport in the world that in this country where you're going to get a whole pub turn up to watch the main event.
No, and not a chance.
There was people in there walking their dogs. They stopped to watch the fight.
Yeah.
The guy turned up. He had 3 dogs with him. He had his missus. She said she never watched boxing. This is the first time. By the end of the fight, she was on her feet. Everyone gave a round of applause. It's mental. Like, I don't care what anyone says. There's no other sport in the world that does this. There's no other combat sport in the world that does what boxing does on the big stage, big venue. And that is why boxing will always be, for me, on top. Yes, we don't see it all the time. And yes, it doesn't happen all the time. But when it does happen, the world knows about it because every single person watches it. Everyone that watches MMA watched that fight yesterday. I don't care what anyone says. And if you didn't, do you know what I mean? It's MMA, UFC, whatever it is, you locked into Ben and Eubank. You all did. No one expected it to be like that, by the way. Everyone thought it was either going to be one-sided in the sense of the power, Eubank's power and size, which you could see at times was taking over, or Ben was going to come out, test Eubank's chin, Eubank was going to fall. That was the other narrative as well.
Yeah.
None of that happened, by the way, in terms of both of them. Eubank tried to bully Ben with his size. Ben come back firing. He was headhunting, like Abdul said in the comments. But I think in them types of fights, you can't. It's very difficult to pick your shots. I suppose when you're fighting a bigger guy, you're going to go. You're going to aim for the main thing is the head. Yeah. You are.
And you know what? There'll be no. Conor Benn landed some great body shots, and there was a moment in round 10 or 11 where I thought he's going to drop him with the body shot. But I think any other fighter, Ben lands those body shots and lands that clean, he probably does get the knockdown.
Yeah.
But nothing. Those two. I think genuinely you would have had to have killed them to put them down last night. There was something else. Had Senior not been there, I think Junior would have fought them.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they had their dads watching on just meant they were just for 36 minutes or 48 minutes if you had the rest were never moving. They were just. Sort of, it wasn't even unstoppable force versus immovable object. It was just 2 absolute beasts, and they're never going to fall. So Conor Benn's body shots were great, but the fact is, you might as well just headhunt. He did do it a bit too much in the first rounds. I think he obviously Tony Sims had told him later on, you need to work the body more, and potentially that's how, if they did a rematch, which I don't really support, I will watch it because hopefully it will just go like this, where they have a great fight and there's nothing that comes out of it badly. But the fact is, it's never good when you have to reduce the size of the ring and add rehydration clauses because you've got like a fighter that's coming up knowing he's going to be at minimum 10 pounds lighter. Never mind the height and the reach and all the other advantages that Chris Eubank Jr. had. So then they had to add rehydration clauses, and then it's like, well, where do you draw the line? And that's where it gets silly. So I don't want to see a rematch, but if I did, I think Conor Benn has to work the body earlier, and then Eubank will have slowed down, and then you see a slower Eubank in round 11 and 12, and then Conor Benn probably pips the fight. But I mean, for me, I had Conor Benn winning. I don't know if you had it different. I think in 11 and 12 he probably lost the fight.
I look. I think the scorecards were quite wide, but Eubank did win, and I think, I had Eubank just winning towards the end, but I don't agree that it was by 4 rounds.
No,
but I did think Eubank won, but it was a fight that, he definitely won the last round, in my opinion. And I would say towards the end, he was getting more success. But then I would say earlier on, like say going into the later rounds, maybe 9, 10, it was probably even.
Yeah.
I think the 11th and 12th round is what probably swayed it for me. But it wasn't a million miles.
So.
It wasn't a million miles. Like, as in, it wasn't like he clearly won them rounds. I just think Eubank just done a little bit more than Ben in those rounds. But nevertheless, both fighters can only hold their head highs.
Yeah. I think that there's a huge element, and we do have to think about this, that Conor Benn was having to work a lot harder for a lot less. He had to stay twitching. Even in round 11, he was trying to twitch.
Go on.
He couldn't stop moving, because if he did, like Abdul said, that jab that Eubank was landing, Eubank's got a great jab anyway, but you say you're getting jabbed by someone that's 10, 12, maybe even a stone heavier than you, that jab could knock you out. So Conor Benn had to keep moving. I don't think it's possible for Conor Benn to be fitter than he was.
Yeah.
I mean, Eubank Sr. was probably speaking for everyone when he said, I thought he'd gas out after 5 or 6 rounds.
Yeah.
I didn't really, I wasn't sure. We all know he's got a great engine, but the fact that in even round 12, he was still able to throw solid punches. Like in terms of technique, some of the stuff that both of them were doing was just crazy, but they showed glimpses of how talented they both are. I think it would be so good now to see them go their separate way, because it's not going to happen. They're going to have a rematch. I think this fight has. I think potentially this is the biggest fight of the year. Canelo Crawford could be bigger, but I'm telling you, Ben Eubank 2 or 4, however you think about it. Do you think this has done 1 million pay-per-view buys? Because I think it probably did.
Yeah, 100%. I also, I think it's the best venue for the boxing to be in, which now is probably as bad as people say. Tottenham probably have the best stadium in the country now.
Yeah.
No, genuinely, like
they do for facilitating other things as well as football.
The technology that's in the stadium, everything else, and you look at the amount of events that they can put on: boxing, football, NFL, concerts, etc. Do you know what I mean? All these things that the stadium have got. I think it was perfect for it. Unreal venue, and it was, I think this is definitely done 1 million. I'd be interested to see the pay-per-view numbers when they come out, but I think the thing is, you've got to take in consideration though as well. Like Eddie Hearn said, there's a lot of factors of it's probably done more, but because of piracy and stuff like that,
I was going to say,
they won't get the numbers that they'll get.
After the 9th round, Eubank Jr got cut and it turned into a pub fight. Yeah, I mean, it's telephone box fighting. They were, I think up till round 9, probably was that cut. Up until that point, it was actually quite skillful. There was obviously a lot of emotion, and I think Conor Benn had to put everything into every punch. But he's the smaller man. If he doesn't, he's not going to move Eubank. So Spurs Stadium looks impressive, not their football, 100%.
Can I just say as well, how smart was it of Chev Clark to come out belting Arsenal North London forever at the Tottenham ground?
Oh, I know.
It's only a shame that he lost against the Tottenham fighter, because now Tottenham fans didn't care. Had he won, I think that would have rattled Tottenham fans, by the way.
That has rattled Tottenham fans. There's Tottenham fans going mental that was allowed to be played in the stadium.
So boxing, listen,
it's boxing.
It's boxing.
Yeah.
If it's their ring walk, it's their ring walk.
Yeah.
Do you get it? Unfortunately.
But it's funny.
Unfortunately, yeah, it is funny. But unfortunately, Terry, who lives down the road, 5 minutes next to a kebab shop, they're really not going to give it. And supposed to go to Tottenham his whole life.
Yeah.
Because he said they're not happy about Arsenal's song being played in the stadium for a fighter to walk out. Eddie Hearn goes, we can't do it. Forget the millions we put into it. Terry, who's watching it at home, probably streaming it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I that fight is actually. We'll talk about that. I don't know what more we can say about Ben Eubank. I mean, all right. Let's. Where did either one go? I don't want a rematch, but
no.
I think it's going to happen.
I know what's going to happen. Ben's going to go back down to 147. He's going to get the WBC title shot. He's going to beat Barrios. I think he'll beat Barrios.
Barrios will easy. Yeah, it's not hard fight.
And then Eubank, from here, his stock goes up. Will he take? The thing is, it's a very, very hard division. Obviously, you've got Hamza Shiraz there as well now. He could look at a fight of Hamza Shiraz. If he gets a win over Hamza Shiraz, that's a very good win. But I think Eubank's going to be selective. I think we know what Conor Benn's going to do. I don't think we know what Eubank's going to do. Eubank's at an age now where he's got to do the best for him in terms of making the most money before he retires. So he's going to be in them fights. I think take everything away from the fight. Let's be brutally honest when we're talking about Eubank. Ben hasn't eclipsed world level yet because he hasn't eclipsed world level yet and proven himself there, but that's because he hasn't just been there yet. It's not because he can't do it. He's 28 years old. He's on his own boxing career. Bear in mind, he had 2 years out the ring, 40 months. So he missed a lot of time. Now he's got to play catch up. As good as this win is for Eubank, as I said before, the win or loss in this fight is going to hold no relevance on them. The Eubank stock's going to go up, but he's going to say, if he goes and fights a middleweight, he goes, but you fought a welterweight in your last fight. So I don't really. That's what the next fight is going to say, that Eubank fight. Fighting Canelo and fighting Conor Benn is very, very different. By the way,
Canelo is a terrible fight for Eubank. That he looks silly again, and he's got to rebuild.
I would love to see them make Terence and Eubank. And they spoke about making that fight before, because at one point they had the same trainer.
Yeah, both under Bomat, yeah.
And I think Terence needs a fight at that weight before he goes on to fight Canelo. And I feel like if you want to fight Canelo, you've got to be in the tough fights. Eubank will give him that tough fight. If Terence Crawford gets past that, then we can look at it and go, Otherwise, I genuinely think, regardless of if it's Terence Crawford or not, I think we're robbing the public of just putting them two in there, because for me at the moment, that's a one-sided fight.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I don't get Terence Crawford's is one of the pound for pound the best, but there's weight classes for a reason. So I need to see him go up and fight a super middle, because who did he fight last? Madrimov at 154.
Yeah, 154. So he's still going up a stone to just make weight. Never mind rehydrate when he gets bigger. But
what's this other comment that's been put in here by Abdul?
Congratulations to CBS, Riley, McKenna, Yard, and Eubank Jr. the win.
McKenna was very impressive. We're going to talk about McKenna in a second, but we'll talk about him. Him and Vidal Riley seriously shot up. But look, Conor Benn, Mario Barrios fight makes sense, and he will win that. It's not an easy fight. It's still fighting a world champion. But
we know what Conor Benn can do now, and I think Barrios is going to identify this. Conor Benn is not an easy guy to knock out. Like he never was. He got put in there with Vargas earlier on. Do you remember when he fought Vargas?
Yeah.
And Vargas is coming off. Vargas was a world level fighter. Obviously, yes, he was not who he used to be in terms of. But people said this was Ben's toughest test. What did Ben do to him in that fight?
Mauled him.
I don't think Vargas ever got stopped like that.
No. Errol Spence stopped him in round 4. Conor Benn mauled him for 90 seconds and stopped him in round 1. Like, there is something about Conor Benn that is different. Whether you like him, hate him, love him, whatever, he is a different kind of fighter. He's not something you get a lot from British fighters. He is very similar to his dad. The difference is Nigel Benn hits harder. But Conor Benn, therefore, technically speaking, in certain aspects, I mean, right now he's not there, but I imagine, will become a potentially better defensive fighter than Nigel Benn. Yep. Although his instincts are just to fight. His instincts, his boxing does seem to go out the window when things get tough, but I don't mind that. It probably stops him from becoming... I don't know. Look, he's 28 years old. He's going to win a world title because he will fight Barrios at some point. And assuming that Ben gets there before Ennis, then Ben beats Barrios. We saw in Barrios' last fight, Barrios on the back foot, and he struggled. He really struggled, Barrios. Mario Barrios is not. He has to be coming forward. And he's not big enough to push Ben back. He doesn't hit hard enough to push Ben back. And Conor Benn doesn't really get pushed back. So I think he'll win that I think he'll win that in devastating. In fact, I think he'll really put a statement out.
Conor Benn and Barrios. Yeah, but listen, at the end of the day, we've got to look at it. Barrios is gonna. He's won that fight. He's gonna. I think if you go off this fight, although we don't know how much damage Ben has had from this fight, because he's gonna need to rest before he fights, but he'll no doubt want to get back in there. One thing that he did say was inactivity was maybe something that played a part in this. And you can understand that because he has not been fighting for 14 months. For not to fight for 14 months and then come out and fight Eubank at super middleweight, we're asking a lot of him. He done it.
Yeah.
Not to say it's excusing the loss because like Eubank won, but it's a lot of fighters wouldn't do that is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They'd take the easier route. We'll put us in there with someone who's going to do it for 3-4 rounds, knock him out, make him look good, then go into it. Ben went straight into a fight, moved 2 weights up. You could probably say he's slightly unhinged in that sense because I genuinely think Ben is probably, when we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, having world champions in Britain, Ben could be one of them.
He will.
I think he will.
Yeah.
The only thing in that division is who else? Who's the other champions?
Brian Norman Jr. and then Jaron Boots Ennis. Brian Norman Jr. is a tough fight, but very winnable.
Ennis is going to be the test.
Ennis is a whole different kettle of fish.
Once Ben's won the WBC title, you're now talking about he's at world level. So he's then going to go into fights regularly, and I don't think the Jared Ennis fight is for him now.
If he fights Jared Ennis now, I think that's a terrible night for him. But Abdul has kindly sort of put together all the potential fights. Crawford Ben is a complete mismatch right now. Conor Benn doesn't have the experience. I don't think Conor Benn will ever get to that level of Terence Crawford, but even so, he's definitely not there yet. Fundora versus Ben is interesting because Fundora is huge, but that's 154. I don't think he's a 154-pound fighter.
Yeah.
Also, that fight just screams of a cut. Conor Benn. Do you know what a brilliant fight would be? Although I don't know if it makes sense, but it'd just be a great fight for the fans. It's Conor Benn versus Tim Tszyu.
the two of them would just go to war. They both hit hard enough to knock each other out, but not hard enough to finish it in round 1. So that's going 8 rounds.
Yeah.
For me, it's got to be Barrios. Get a world title. Then nobody can take that away from him. He's a WBC welterweight world title.
Defend it.
Or I think he could go straight into Brian Norman Jr. after that. But
I get it. But I'm saying I think defend it, then look at Brian Norman Jr.
Maybe.
And then
Jaron Ennis.
Listen, I wouldn't be surprised if we're realistically going to see now he's an out of fight. I know we're later on in the year, but we might see, if we look at the span of now a year till next year, which would be a year,
Yeah.
I think we could potentially see him fight 2 times, 3 times max if he really pushes himself. But it's on how much of a break he takes from this. Probably, realistically, he'll probably fight twice.
I don't expect to see him for 6 months.
No.
I actually would be a little worried if he came back much sooner than 6. The training camp for this was long. Hard as well mentally. And then the fight was harder in both aspects. So, and it's a loss as well, which isn't he's not used to. He's got really good people around him. He'll be fine. The Barrios fight makes sense. I don't want to see him versus Eubank again. It just, you're playing with danger. Like really, you're playing with fire with that. Which obviously, and that's why it's probably such a great fight, but also why potentially it's not the right move. I can't see a world where the smaller guy, unless he were able to go away for 2 years, fight others, get more experience against higher level, and then come back. I don't see a world where Conor Benn can immediately go into a rematch and change anything. It's all well and good saying he needs to stay off the ropes, but it's an 18-foot ring. Yes, that kind of favours him. It means the Eubank can't sort of forces close range infighting, but it just doesn't favour it. It's not only favouring Conor Benn, it also favours Eubank. Eubank loves his mid-range fighting. Really, that's what Eubank's good at. So Conor Benn will get put on the ropes again. And in terms of Eubank, Abdul, you are a legend, mate. What about these fights for Eubank? Eubank Canelo, I don't like that fight. I think that ends badly. Eubank Skull could be all right. I don't mind that. Lara, Erislandy Lara's not even really a thing anymore. I mean, I know he's technically a world champion, but that's going to get vacated. Janabek is the one I'd want to see. But I think that's a long night. But I think that's the one that screamed out to me. That's for world titles. That's tough though. And if Eubank struggles with the weight, that fight is horrible.
Yeah.
Janabek's a killer. And then Carlos Adames, that's a good fight. I don't want to see Eubank. I don't know. Maybe he needs to go up in weight and it has to be Canelo. But if that's the case, I don't think he's ever winning a world title. So, right. We've spent about 40 minutes talking about the main event, which is justified because it deserved it. But let's talk about the undercard. First of all, Misfits Boxing, Chris Eubank Sr. versus Nigel Benn. Oh my God. I wouldn't put it past them, but no.
No.
I've got Nigel in that now. Nigel keeps himself fit.
Yeah, but we don't know how fit Eubank Sr. can. I don't think Eubank Sr. can box anymore, man.
I don't think Eubank Sr. knows what's going on sometimes.
I don't think Eubank Sr. trains.
No. He's quite peaceful now.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. Anyway, right. First fight of the night, Chris Billum-Smith versus Gallant. I probably wanted Billum-Smith to win that fight more than I've wanted any fighter to win a fight in a while, just because of what Gallant was saying about
went how I expected it to go.
Brain damage and all the rest of it. I thought Gallant was better than I didn't think Gallant would be as good. But yeah, Billum-Smith looks solid. He's a little slow. The 18-foot ring didn't help. You could tell that the ring was small when those two were in it. But Billum-Smith did his job. I think that a loss there would have been a career ender. So
yeah,
it's good to see. Don't really know where he goes next. I think Jay Opataya is a horrible fight for him.
Yeah.
Zerdo, we know how that goes. It's a brilliant fight, but we know how that goes. Anyone else doesn't really make sense.
Mm.
I mean, yeah, there's not much to say about that. Well done, CBS. And I'm glad it went the way it did.
Yeah.
But I think the 18-foot ring hindered the fight a little bit. It was a good fight, though. Next up is the North London Derby. Chev Clark versus Vidal Riley.
Something you don't see often, Tottenham winning it.
Yeah. Tottenham actually playing their song, Glory, Tottenham Hotspur, Glory, or whatever it is. Never heard it before. First time. Vidal Riley is seriously good. Yes, Chev Clark just lost, but he lost at European level. Vidal, it's really difficult. I don't know if he's going to be a world champion because he's not that big.
As I said to people before the fight, I think Vidal Riley beat Chev Clark because of his boxing ability, which I think was. I said this before, yeah. You see Vidal Riley, yeah?
Yeah.
It's easy to sit there and say, well, we don't know how good he is because, but if you watch every one of his fights, every fight he's in, he looks better than his opponents in terms of boxing. He's a smarter boxer. And now he's got this title, he'll move up to fight and go on. I think the Isaac Chamberlain fight.
Isaac Chamberlain fight has to be, right?
Has to happen. But Vidal is Chev Clark come off the back of a loss.
Yep.
And for me, I said it before the fight, I just thought Vidal is going to be too much for him in terms of boxing. He's not going to go in there looking for a knockout. He'll just outbox Chev Clark, and that's what he done.
He was disciplined. We didn't see any of the wild overhand rights that we've seen against like Anis Taj and a few of his other fights. Not really against Mikhail Lawal because Lawal obviously broke his rib within the first round. But
Lawal, by the way, is probably, I know it doesn't sound bad, but he's probably the worst of the bunch. This thing.
Well, but based on recent performances, definitely.
No, but this narrative that he was knocking people out before he fought Isaac and then he fought Vidal. But he was in there with two fighters, which I said and I won't lie because I remember speaking to Isaac Chamberlain's trainer, Bobby, and I said if Vidal had the power to knock out, if Lawal had the power to knock Chamberlain out, I think he could do it. But what really impressed me in that fight was they basically numbed that arsenal of Lawal's and just outboxed him. He got outboxed against Riley, and then looking at them fights, go into it, and if we go back to Riley, the way he outboxed Lawal, for me, I didn't really see it going any different with Chev Clark.
No. I thought Chev Clark would pose a few more issues for Vidal. I did think Vidal would win, but I thought Chev Clark would have a few more problems for him to solve. Vidal just looks so clean. He barely got touched. He got punched. The final round, he got hit, and he got stunned a little. But you can tell he's got a good chin. Chev Clark hits hard. We know that. Vidal's elite. In terms of actual just boxing ability, he is one of the best cruiserweights that's going to he's going to be one of the best cruiserweights. My worry, doesn't hit stupidly hard enough to let you know he's there. So it's not a massive problem. And he's he's 6'1".
Mm-hmm.
There are cruiserweights that are 6'4", 6'5". Jai Opataya is 6'1" as well, but Jai Opataya hits like a truck. It's difficult to know where Vidal can go, but it won't be. It's only going to be limited by physical aspects rather than boxing ability, because his boxing brain, I think, is better than even some of the world champions now. I think you put head guards on and like big old gloves, he would not struggle against the world champions. The worry is when you reduce the glove size and you take the head guards off. I think That's my worry. And he does get hit, and he will be getting hit by much bigger guys than Chev Clark.
Yeah.
But British level, he's done it. And he'll go to European next, and I think he'll do that as well.
They said at one point he was a YouTube boxer, man.
Yeah, that's just always been stupid. I'll tell you what, the commentary was stupid as well last night, talking about Vidal.
Why?
They were saying like they had this narrative of he wasn't sure what he was going to do, if he was going to go down the YouTube route or the boxing. It was like he was always going to be a boxer.
Let's be honest with you. Yeah? If you really know Vidal Riley, like Sky Sports commentary should have done their research on him.
Yeah.
Go and look at his amateur.
Yeah, exactly.
Go and look at his amateur career. What a stupid thing to say.
Yeah, I know.
But
he's 27. Like
who said
the
that?
whole it was on the Zone's commentary, so it would have been Darren Barker. Oh, Darren Barker's pretty good. It wouldn't Darren Barker. Adam Smith, maybe. I don't know.
Adam Smith is good as well.
Barry, maybe. I don't know.
I'm shocked that they would.
It was a terrible comment because Vidal. Look, if you're getting offered stupid money when you're young, we know the boxing game. You don't get paid a lot unless you're the top 1% of the 1%. So if you're getting offered stupid money by KSI, who's going to put your brand out there, you have to do that.
Yeah, but bearing in mind, Vidal's probably one of the few boxers that, because of his presence online, he already brings the market value to build a boxer. It's just he's got two boxers that basically Vidal's got the package because yes, he's got the YouTube following, not YouTube boxing following, but because he does a lot on social media and stuff. But no doubt, when you're talking about his boxing, let's respect him a bit. Like, bro, he was a serious amateur.
He's a serious professional as well, and there's no question in that dedication. He was brilliant. Isaac Chamberlain, main event. Could it do the O2? It could potentially do the O2.
O2, yeah. O2.
Yeah, why not? And that's the only fight that really makes sense next for both of them.
The Zone, I agree with Abdul's comment on the pundits, by the way.
Yeah.
And we'll go on to McKenna in a minute as well.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. We'll go Smith McKenna now. Really, I don't. Other than the congratulations to Vidal, I don't think there's much more for Chev Clark to do professionally. Vidal's going to go a very long way, actually. Whether or not world titles within his grasp because of his size. Now, Liam Smith McKenna, slightly disappointing on one end, but then also a very much a wake up call on the other. McKenna is serious.
I don't think they gave Liam Smith a round.
They shouldn't have.
No.
I really like Liam Smith, but if you ever needed to be told probably time to retire, I think that was last night. He couldn't get a punch out, and I think there's a lot of that comes down to injury, age, coming back off of. I mean, he last fought against Eubank Jr. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
He was meant to fight on the Joshua Dubois undercard, got injured again. If you ever needed a sort of wake up call of, you've done it all, you're probably done now. I think that was last night.
Do you know what's mental about Liam Smith? Can I just say before we talk about McKenna?
What?
He's probably playing Sunday League today.
I don't think he's playing Sunday League today.
Do you know he plays on a Sunday?
I know he does. I do not think he is moving today.
I think he's there, man. I think he's on the bench.
I think his body's shattered.
Jokes aside, Liam Smith, it was always going to happen. Like, there was a passing of the torch, but I don't think, Liam Smith has had a great career. Career. I don't think he can be, disappointed about anything, what he's done in the sport. He'd be a great career. I think he'd be a great boxing coach because I think that's what he's doing a lot of now.
Yeah.
You've seen it with his gym that he trains at, which is Rotunda, isn't it? Rotunda Gym.
Yeah.
Oh. So, he's training. He's got into training himself. I think he was in the corner for Darren Till when he done his fight on Misfits. But I think alongside that, I think he'll be a great boxing coach. I think
he's got a great boxing mind.
When you look at he's got a very good boxing mind. But I think that'll be where we see him go next. McKenna, younger, sharper fighter. McKenna is a younger, sharper fighter, and it was just a passing of the torch. Won every round. Hit the body shots were something that I was so impressed by. The way he picked his shots as well.
Movement.
Serious
Yeah.
boxer, serious boxer. I think he needed that fight because that was kind of fight that puts you on the notice, especially with like Turkey there and stuff like that. Gets you bigger fights on the cards, Saudi cards now. Yeah, I liked his performance. I thought it was good. And there wouldn't have been anyone better to fight against than Liam Smith. A lot of respect to Liam Smith. He come out, it just wasn't enough, and that happens in boxing. You get to a stage of your career where it just happens.
He couldn't answer for what McKenna was doing. McKenna didn't stop moving for 12 rounds. There wasn't a lot coming back at him, which makes it a bit easier. But it was impressive. I don't know who McKenna can fight next because he's beaten Smith, but we all know that's not the best Liam Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of is McKenna now Eubank Jr. level? Because I don't think that's a good fight for him. He's in a weird bit now where he's probably going to have to take a huge step up next.
Yeah,
and it could end up being too far, but he looks seriously good. I mean, I've watched him a few times before on the boxer cards. He's been kind of dotted around in a few places. He is a serious fighter.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't surprise me that he won. It surprises me he won so easily, but it doesn't surprise me he won. Him and Vidal Riley are sort of, other than main event performances of the night. Right. Anthony Yarde, Lyndon Arthur 3. I still don't understand why the fight happened. Still think the both of them have had some weird careers.
Yeah.
Like Anthony Yarde has fought either journeyman, Lyndon Arthur, or world champions. That's kind of what it feels like. Not a lot of in between. The fight took its time to get going.
Yeah.
Mainly because Anthony Yarde took his time to get going. I thought Lyndon Arthur started well. And then it was just bullying, really. Lyndon Arthur did well, but it felt if Anthony Yarde had just taken a little step back, he kept checking. So we kept seeing Anthony Yarde try and change the angle. So he'd step to the left of Arthur, or he'd step to his right, Lyndon Arthur's left, and he'd get this new angle, and he would try and throw these little short uppercuts. That's great. Anthony Yarde has the power to knock somebody out from doing that. But he tried it 7 or 8 times in a row.
Yeah.
Only thing would just be very up. I think if he steps to Arthur's right hand side, if he only works the body, it was just a bit samey. It didn't feel like either of them had anything new to give.
Yeah.
Which is potentially a reflection of where they're at in their career, where it doesn't feel like either one has massively improved of recent. Anthony Yarde's best performance is still Beterbiev.
Mm-hmm.
Lyndon Arthur's best performance is probably still Anthony Yarde 1.
Yeah.
Very difficult to know where either of them go after this fight. I guess the Boatsy fight, but is that going to happen? Do I even want to see it anymore? I don't know. Doesn't carry the same weight. Callum Smith versus Anthony Yarde feels like a mismatch. And Smith hopefully will fight Benavidez. It's tough. Not sure. Really not sure.
It's difficult. Lyndon Arthur and Yarde was a fight that I thought Lyndon Arthur started strong, but towards the end, I just think Yarde was more conditioned. And obviously, we saw that in the fight. You know what? I would still say that Lyndon Arthur's a tough fight for a lot of fighters. I think Boatsy's probably looking at that now and going, he's probably not in the running for Yarde and Boatsy now. Really not, because Yarde's got the win. Does he go up a world title fight, or does he get a fight with Boatsy again? Or does he fight Boatsy with the risk, obviously, and then beating him? And then you're looking at 2 good wins against Lyndon Arthur and then Boatsy.
I think he needs the Boatsy fight.
Yeah.
I can't see him ever winning a world title if his best win is Lyndon Arthur. Not anything against Lyndon Arthur, but the gap between a very good light heavyweight and a world level light heavyweight is light years at the moment. And I think Anthony Yarde can get there, and I think Joshua Boatsy can get there. Well, Boatsy, I think. Well, because look, let's look at it. The Bivol and Beterbiev are a level above everyone. Benavidez is definitely in the mix. Callum Smith is definitely in the mix. Well, Benavidez is the world champion, but Benavidez isn't. We know how he won that. It's a bit weird. Then there's a gap. Boatsy showed that he can mix it with Smith. But Yarde, yeah, he had a good fight against Beterbiev, but he was never winning that fight. He just gave us something amazing to watch. I think he needs to fight Boatsy, and even if he loses, he needs to learn.
Yeah,
because he's kind of got to a point where I think there's not much more that Tunde can teach him in the gym. That he's not. I think it'd be so valuable for him to get in there with someone that could actually really hurt him and outbox him. Boatsy could knock Yarde out. Boatsy could outbox Yarde. Yarde could do the same to Boatsy, but the point is, he goes into that fight with extra fear of I need to be great, and then you might see the best Anthony Yarde, or he'll fall short. But at least we know, all right, this is where you're at. This is where we need to improve. Right now, it's the same thing. Oh, how could he be improved in this fight? Well, he could have started a bit faster. The last fight he had on the boxer card, he could have finished a bit quicker. Like, it's work rate, but work rate's such a difficult thing. You can't teach. Well, you can teach work rate, but you can't teach it to the same extent of how to throw a jab better. Like, that's just difficult. Benavidez versus Opataya is a good fight. Benavidez versus Bivol is a great fight, but I think Benavidez versus Callum Smith is what's coming next. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's on the undercard of Bivol Beterbiev 3, which we'll get announced shortly. Oh, also, I know this is completely unrelated to Ben and Eubank, but Usyk Dubois, July 19th, Wembley Stadium. Confirmed.
Usyk Dubois. Okay.
So, summer fight, unification again. Usyk can do it 2 times.
I don't know, man. Like,
and it means Derek Chisora is not going to get his world title shot.
Yeah, but that's understandable, though. Like, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Certain fights take precedence, right? So
Yeah.
it doesn't really surprise me that has happened. But nevertheless, yeah, it's just one of the things, bro. Like, I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just one of them things. I'll be honest with you. I think it's going to be the same outcome. I think Usyk's going to beat Dubois, but yeah,
I think it'll be. I think potentially it will look even easier.
Yeah,
I think Dubois got so much better, but I think Usyk's now. He was at the time, but Usyk's a big guy now. He's a heavyweight. There is no cruiserweight left in that body. And he's fought Tyson Fury twice. I just can't see. I don't know. I can't see it. Anyway, look, I don't think there's anything more to add. Ben Eubank was a success. Do we want to see a rematch? No. If we do see it, cool, but dangerous potentially. McKenna and Vidal Riley have just put themselves onto a huge stage now.
Mm-hmm.
Callum Billum Smith is still here. Anthony Yarde is still there. They are going to announce Usyk versus Daniel Dubois too. Yeah. Right. Thank you, Abdul. Big thank you, because you've been here pretty much the whole time and commenting. So massive respect to you.
We are on every Thursday, our normal weekly shows. Every Thursday at 7:45. Every Thursday night is when we do our normal weekly shows. We might do more of this and do review shows the day after the fight.
Day after makes sense, doesn't it? Maybe we will.
So
to be fair, we might want to do that next week because next week we've got a monster. We've got Canelo, Skull, Garcia, Romero, Haney, Jose Ramirez Jr., Tifimo Lopez versus Barboza Jr., and Naoya Inoue.
Okay, next Sunday is that Sunday, yeah? So Sunday we do the review show.
There's a whole lot. Yeah.
Okay, Sunday morning we'll do a review show for that as well. So Thursday this week and Sunday we will have.
Yeah.
Thursday we'll have our weekly boxing show. Sunday we will have the review for that. So, 2 streams for you guys this week. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
Happy Easter. Right. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. If you can, just go watch the fight. Just do it. I watch football. Boxing doesn't happen much. A big fight that happened. Boxing, politics, and money issues. Big fights happen all the time, mate. Next week is big fights. But fair. But big fights happen all the time. Right. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, all the rest of it. We've got all of our links below. I think that's everything. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.